let's be honest, you're going to mess up a lot of haircuts, and a nice blow dryer can hide a lot of things. You can't give a client one good haircut and then, 2 or 3 bad ones, because they won't come back to you.
I was in a similar position. Once you hit it, it's very scary to let it go.
And if you can give them the best of you, they will remember you forever, and you would have changed their lives as well.
You want to give them something that they're going to remember you by. And you can only do that if you're really going to give some of yourself to them, right?
When your opportunity does come, you've got to be ready to deliver something powerful, You ain't going to last long.
Stell the talent. For what in my ladder?
There's always going to be people that are better than you at something.
Financially, whatever it is, relationship, you can get so much of it from your clients.
It makes me to get on that path to be successful so much more easier, because I'm not going to make the same mistakes as that person. They've already lived it.
Welcome to another episode of Hot Talks, and today I've got a very, very special guest. I think the bar is just getting better and better over here. I've got, I don't know how to describe this guy. There's so many different ways of why I've recommended him today for a talk. So, if you don't know him already, his name goes by on Instagram. Many people know him as Stell the Talent. I've known Stell actually for a very, very long time. We go back a long way. There's going to be a lot of good info, good stories for him. He's a global educator. He's a very sought-after educator, and actually one of the most genuine and real educators out there. And you're going to find out a bit more why later on in this episode that we're going to get into. So, welcome, Stell. Thank you so much for joining in. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I can. It's a bit echoey, but it's fine, man. No problem.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, guys. It sounded a bit funny. So, Stell, I want to jump into it straight away with you, man, because obviously I've known you a little bit before, and I want to go into way back when you started. Then we're going to get up to what you're doing today, and obviously how people can benefit as well later on from stuff that you're doing today. And if my memory serves me correctly, back in the day when we met, Stell was always, I think you're always quite a confident person and quite a welcoming person at the same time. Like, I'd come over to your house, maybe a pool table, stuff like that. Would you say, before we get into how you got into barbering, have you always had a certain confidence about you from back when you were at school? Because that's what I felt.
I just be me. I don't know, man. I never really thought of it as trying to like put on a confidence thing. It's just the way I am, man. When I'm around people that I feel comfortable with, man, I'm just always at ease. I like engaging with people, man. I like to spend time with people. Even like all my customers, there's some of them that are on here now on the live, and I love them to bits, you know what I mean? So, we send messages, you miss me and I miss you and so forth. But like, my customers are like friends to me. So, and when I have a good feeling about someone, then, confidence is there. You have conversations with them and so forth. So, I don't know if it's something that I do consciously. It's just I've never really thought about it. I'm quite open. I'm to people, do you know what I mean?
That's why it's probably there that it's natural. I think it's quite natural for you. I don't even know if you've thought about it like that, but I actually think that's a major tool for actually a lot of the achievements that you've had so far. Because you need a certain type of confidence to do certain things, willing to be wrong and whatever, because you're confident to do that. So how did you actually get into barbering? Am I right in thinking you didn't do it straight from school, or you did?
No, I did.
Oh, you did?
To be honest, at the time, I wanted to go and do architecture, and the actual thing was that my parents were going to move and immigrate us to Cyprus, and obviously my younger brother, who's also a barber, he was I think 2 or 3 years beneath me, and we had to wait for him to finish. So as soon as I finished school, my dad said, "You've got to go and get a job." So I was like, "All right, cool." And I remember there was a guy that was in my 6th form, and then he dropped out, and then he went to a Tony and Guy Academy. And he would come in and see us, and I thought, right, boy, this guy's sick. Do you know what I mean? Cut some of the girls' hair. I was like, all right, cool. So I get into like cutting hair, innit? And at the time, I was dating someone, and she knew a guy that owned a shop in Southgate called Hollywood Hair. And she introduced me to him because her older sister knew him. And then I just started hairdressing from that point. I mean, it was a shock to the system because a lot of my friends were, either doing, going to uni and so forth. And I was in full-time employment, trying to learn a skill set. Hey, it was hard, standing up all day. It was like a shock to the system. I was like...
Washing hair.
Yeah, washing hair and all your hands cracking up and all of that. It was a nightmare.
Well, I think most of the people watching, and they're going to watch this later on the video, they won't know what Hollywood hair was or where was it. And so Hollywood hair, just to give a little brief background, this is how I saw it. It was a shop that opened up in Greater London, so it was a local salon. But it was weird. It wasn't a regular local salon. It had this big hype around it when it opened. You get football going there. It was huge, really. When you think of today what shops are like, that was huge. Really good shop. Yeah, good. And I know quite a lot of people that work there. And really different background of hairdressers there.
It was full of the best people that I could have worked with at the time. There was people from Vidal Sassoon. There was Tony Train. There was any place that had top hairdressers at the time, and they weren't working within their company that they learned their skill set, they kind of ended up in Hollywood hair. So I was like, as a young kid, I walked in there and I just had these skillful people. I just used to watch them cut hair and think, how? I was lucky, man. It was a proper thriving environment. Very, very.
Yeah, you're right. Because I worked with a couple of them after Hollywood when they left, or some from before. And I agree, actually. It was quite unique in that aspect. I've only worked one other place or seen one place that was like that. But you don't see a lot of stuff like that nowadays, or even back then, to be honest. Yeah. So you're at Hollywood hair. Obviously, you learned hairdressing. You're obviously now a barber. How did you make that transition? Where did you go after Hollywood hair? And then how did you take you up to when you ended up at London School of Barbering?
So, in terms of the hairdressing, then my parents decided to move us to immigrate. So I must have been doing hairdressing maybe 3-4 years, something like that. And then we immigrated to Cyprus. I tried to hairdress over there, didn't like it.
Different ballgame.
And then I was back and forth because I couldn't really settle. And when I was coming back, I decided to jump into the barbering side of stuff because I just got to a point where with hairdressing it was all one length. It started grating on me, man. It was boring. I weren't doing any bobs and so forth, interesting haircuts. So it was all these long one length and blow dries. I hated blow dries. So I just wanted to transition. So I went into men's hair. And to be honest, I think if you're dealing with longer hair, with hairdressing's easier because you can hide a lot of imperfections as someone that is not very, good at it. Because obviously you're not good at the start, are you? But let's be honest, you're going to mess up a lot of haircuts. And a nice blow dryer can hide a lot of things. So, coming into the barbering side of stuff, there's no hiding, mate. You can either cut men's hair or you can't. So it's very obvious straight away if there's a good fade or a bad fade, for example. Or, okay, you could probably get away with the top because back then when I was doing it, there was a lot of heavy styling products like gels and all of that. And it would hide a lot of imperfections through the top if you didn't cut it very well. So, but you couldn't really hide from the side. So that was why I transitioned into barbering. I just preferred the challenge of it because, you've got to be very consistent. You can't give a client one good haircut and then, 2 or 3 bad ones because they won't come back to you. You won't build a clientele.
Where did you go after Hollywood?
What's that?
Where did you go after Hollywood?
After Hollywood, I went to it was called Dino's Barbers. Well, it was actually Andy's Barbers on Lincoln Road. Yeah, and this guy, he was an old school barber. Yeah, so he taught me a lot of things. He was amazing, dude. He would do all scissor work. Yeah, cut cut hair, scissor over comb, everything. And I was just like, man, how does this guy cut hair like this? So, and now the son's actually got the shop, and my brother works with the son. We've worked for many, many years. So, I learned a lot of barbering stuff off him. And then when I was in Cyprus, I also worked for another guy called Andy, who's got a very successful barbershop in Cyprus. Again, he learned his trade from his dad, and I was lucky enough to work with his dad. So I had these two older gents. They were traditional barbers. They were outstanding. So they taught me the shaves. They taught me, scissor over combing, everything that you want a traditional barber set to have. Plus, I had the hairdressing skill set as well. So, it was good. It was very good. I was lucky.
And then is that when you went into London School of Barbering, or?
Yeah. So I lived in Cyprus for about 7 years. I got married. I had my first child over there, and then me and my wife decided to come back. And then Dino gave me a few days, which is Andy's son. But then I needed something more concrete. But I'd been looking to get into education for quite a while, to be totally honest. And the opportunity came up. I think me and my missus were looking at jobs available in education. And at the time, if you remember, I wouldn't say there was much going about in terms of becoming an educator for barbering. Yeah, there weren't many jobs, and then this job popped up at London School of Barbering. I was like, okay, cool. And it just so happened I knew someone that worked there, a friend of mine called Theo. And I ended up going for an interview and seeing the potential that the place had. I just wanted to be in that environment. I wanted to teach, because I always like to pass knowledge on. Even if I learn something, I'd love to just pass it on. And it's not even just with hair. It's, if you learn something in life, some of my clients, we have some seriously deep conversations, man. So I think I'm that way inclined. I like to just give information. So, and that was just where it just went into that field, didn't it? So
I think you have to have that quite naturally, that you love to give knowledge, information, you like affecting people like that. And I think when you have that naturally, that will propel you to then achieve kind of what you've gotten to achieve in education. It's quite a pure thing, I think. That's good to know. That's why you actually went into it, because I wasn't sure, obviously, from back then. I didn't know yet at that time we weren't in contact. So I know obviously you went on to educate at London School of Barbering. And am I right in thinking you became head of education there?
Yeah,
or head educator?
Yeah, I was the head educator there. That transition happened quite quick because it was quite a new company. I think it was about 6-7 months old when I went there. So there was Theo and Kelly was working there. And then there was another guy called Jordan, who I'm still friends with today. And obviously, Theo, I talk to now and then. So I don't know, man. Maybe they saw a lot of potential in me. I'm quite organised, man. I see things, and then I progressed quite quickly. And then it went from, the company grew quite quickly. So I ended up not so much teaching students anymore, but helping to teach the teachers to teach the students. So, the responsibility grew quite quickly. But it was a good experience for me dealing with people. So, and you've got to deal with a lot of egos as well at the same time. You've got to check your ego as well, funny enough, because you're in that position of, what say, your ideas and your opinions, and you put them forward to people, but some people won't agree with what you say. And then you've got to find a balance with people. I think I did my best. Maybe I could have done better looking back at it, but, I think at the time, for that company to grow, I felt that I was a big part of it, as well as other people that were. So, it was a good time.
So London School of Barbering, I think most people that are going to watch this at some point will know of London School of Barbering, or they've probably been there. So if you don't, I would say London School of Barbering, one of the biggest, most prestigious private barbering colleges at that time. It's still big today, but it was the one to go to, and it was growing rapidly. And I'm not even going to ask you about this, but you were there at the pinnacle of it, and you were there as an educator. So part of the credit goes to you guys as the educators, and obviously you in your position. So that's an amazing achievement to have that, because you have to get some credit for that, along with many others.
Yeah,
you get that, and that's a huge achievement. Because if we were employing, I was managing a few shops at the time. If we were employing, the place we knew where a lot of the students were coming from was London School of Barbering. So that's how big it got from nowhere.
Don't forget though. I mean, you have to remember that at that time there wasn't a college, or I think there might have been one before. I think it was called Total Barbers. From what I understood, it wasn't run so well. I'm not too sure.
It's just small.
The short courses that were being offered to students, it just wasn't there. So when a company comes round and it's got a good structure and you can kind of get qualified in 9 weeks, it's like, okay, wow. So a lot of people jump on. Me personally, I always felt that the time was a little bit too short, but ultimately it's not my company. If that's the way that someone wants to run it, then you've got to do the best and create something for people to get the most out of the 9 weeks that they're there. So, and you'll be surprised, man, there was some really good students. So, yeah.
You know what, it's something that I think received a lot of criticism, that it was a 9-week course and this, that, and the other. You know what, I think it was a bit unfair as well, because I agree that it's not long enough, but even if you got them for, 15 weeks, the problem is, until you get that shop floor experience, you don't have that experience that you get from being on the shop floor that you need. And you're always going to have criticism. I think that's a big problem with that. But I think it was a bit harsh. I think London School of Barbering, even when you were there, I think it was worse afterwards, got a lot of criticism for that. I think it's a bit negative to me. There's nothing else fair. It's not.
Listen, the other side of it that you've got to think of is, people are coming and spending big money there. And the turnover of a company, you're making money quite quickly. So there's that aspect. People hate on that because other people haven't done it. You've got to respect it for what it is. Do I agree with the amount of time? Not necessarily. Was there good students? Yes. Did the majority of the classes could they have done with more time? Yes. But like you said, ultimately, no matter what happens, until you go and you cut hair in a shop floor and people are paying for your service, you can put someone in any scenario you want. And, with the amount of clients that London School of Barbering can offer a student, it's fantastic. But you have to be in that environment and you have to feel the pressure of someone paying for a haircut and having time restrictions as well. You have to. That's the way it is. So is it unfair? Yes. So I don't know, mate. You're never going to please everyone, are you? So
I'm not gonna ask you how much you're making at that time, but I'm pretty sure, and I know a few things, that you earned good money for what we get in our industry at that time before you left.
Yeah,
you're getting quite money, right? This is a really difficult thing to do because you left, obviously, on the School of Barbering.
Yeah, I did.
I don't want to get into why you left and whatever and stuff like that. You can talk about it as much as you want, but my question really is, were you afraid when you were leaving? Did you have something lined up already, or did you just leave and thought, right, I'll go do something else? Was it really quite scary? Because when you're at that point, and if you're not a barber watching this, there's not a lot of positions that you can get where you can earn over a certain amount of money. It's fairly limited sometimes to a degree. So once you hit it, I was in a similar position. Once you hit it, it's very scary to let it go, and you did do that.
It had just come to a point where it didn't fit me anymore. Or I think we came to an agreement. It wasn't, I don't think I left on bad terms, but I wouldn't say that it was something that I just wasn't happy there anymore. It's difficult because ultimately you have a set of ideas. And you want to put ideas forward, and sometimes they're listened to, and sometimes they're not. And then you have to understand the business. You don't own the business. So if you see that you're not quite happy with the direction that it's moving, and your moral compass doesn't sit right there, then it's time to leave. No hard feelings. Just go and do what you need to do. To answer the question, did I know what I was going to do. To be honest, I had ideas that I was going to go and open a shop with my brother and Theo at the time. And then we kind of sat down and looked at all the logistics of it. And I just thought, I don't know, man, do I really want to go behind the chair? Because, my passion was educating. And to be honest, I was going to go away on holiday. And I went and got a job at a barbershop, really nice guy, worked there for maybe a couple of months. And then when I got back, Ego Barbers hit me up through DM. And I was like, oh, wow, man. I remember having a conversation with my brother, and I was like, well, what do you think, man? He's saying to me to come down. He wants to have a chat with me. He goes, yeah, man, go. Do you know what I mean? I've heard good things about Harry. He's a nice guy. So I hadn't met him up until that point. So, but I knew Tabby, who worked with him at the time, because he was friends with Theo. So, yeah, man. And went down there, and then the rest is pretty much history, man. It just 3 years later, don't get me wrong, a lot of work went into making things happen. But yeah, initially he threw me a lifeline, to be honest, because he gave me an opportunity on a platform that he has to let me go and do what I do best. And that's education. That's what I love to do.
So don't mind me asking, when you got the call from Harry, was the call from Harry to go there for the purpose of education, or just it was? Okay, so it was on that premise that you guys were eventually going to do some sort of education stuff, not just cut hair in the shop.
Yeah, so basically the way that conversation came about was he sent me a DM. He said, listen, come down, I've got a job proposition for you, and I think that we can work together. So I was like, all right, cool. So I remember, came down, we went to Costa Coffee, sat down, and he said to me, Stell, heard a lot about you. People speak very highly of you. I've got a platform. People ask me all the time for education around the world. He goes, I'm not an educator, but I know that you are. I know that you love it and you take pride in it. So why don't you come and work for me so you can have a job here? I've got an FTC. Build up your clientele, because don't forget, I didn't have a clientele at that time because I'd been the barbering. So a lot of my time was tied up with education after hours and so forth. I didn't really have time to build a clientele. So he said, I'll pay you whatever, which it was a great wage. It is a great wage. So we structured that, and then we, created the company off of the demand from his Instagram account. Because let's not forget, Harry Egos as a brand. I remember I was in London School of Barbering, and they brought it up as a potential threat to their business back then. Yeah. And that's when Harry was by himself, just doing. Don't get me wrong, the team was great. But you're talking about a man that just was putting out videos, content, bam, 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 with mad tunes. And this guy's hitting me up and he wants to work together. I was like, cool, man, I can't miss this opportunity. Obviously, I know it's a lot of work in my field, but what really made me interested in it is the education companies, it will be mine and yours, 50-50 down the middle. You put the work in, but I'm going to pay you for, I don't want, there ain't going to be, because I've got the brand and the name and I've got the demand, that you're going to get 30%, 50-50 partners. And that's how it's been. And me and Harry have a great relationship. So, if it weren't for him, I would still be doing what I love, man. I'd probably be in an academy helping students. For me, this is a byproduct of Harry's massive account that we fly around the world and all of that. Obviously I add value because I do what I do. And when we go there, I know that everything is as it should be for the student. It's not about me and Harry. I always remember a conversation that I had with Harry before we decided to work together. I said to him, listen, I'll work with you on one condition. And that is that it doesn't become about how good you are because you're Ego Barbers. It has to be about the student, yeah? Forget everything else. We have to create something that is solely for the student, because when people are parting with money, you have to make sure that you give them the best of you. And if you can give them the best of you, they will remember you forever, and you would have changed their lives as well. Yeah, and that's what education for me is about. And he was all in for that, man.
I think you hit a point that is really key when you're an educator. You have to have, I think, that mindset. That's so cool that he said that. It's like, it's about the student and not just that, taking it to a different level. It's like, you want to give them something that they're going to remember you by. Like, and you can only do that if you're really going to give some of yourself to them, right? So I know, without going into one of your courses, I know if I go to one of your courses now, you're going to actually wholeheartedly try and give me as much as you have to give to me. And you can't give something that you don't already have. So you've obviously spent a lot of time educating yourself, which is why you're valuable. You've worked on yourself, obviously, because you can't give that which you do not have. And you give it to your students. So it's great value. So now you have an education program called Kings of Tomorrow. If you haven't heard of it, Kings of Tomorrow. Tell us a bit of what it is. What kind of work you guys do? How do we get in touch with you? What's the ethos for it?
So Harry came up with the name Kings of Tomorrow. I think it was a band that he liked or something like that. And I was like, do you know what? That's a really cool name, because obviously, you know, by giving someone some information, they can become their own king, control and do what they want with the information that you've given them, and set their own path, you know, and respect to everyone that does that. So that's where the name came from. And in terms of what we do, so we offer 1 day look and learns. We do 3-day workshops. We can do a 5-day workshop. Fade days. It really, for me, it all depends what the client wants. We obviously have our staples and what we deliver. We obviously have our methodology. The thing is, a lot of our work is abroad, funny enough.
Is what, sorry?
Is abroad. We do a lot of work abroad. Yeah, we do work over in the UK. I mean, it's not mounds and mounds of work, to be honest. We get a lot more requests from abroad. I don't know why that is, to be honest. I don't know. People abroad are hungry for education, mate. They want to learn.
Do you feel, I want to go carry on with what you just said before I miss it. Do you feel like education is way more in demand abroad than you do to the UK market? Even one, the demand for it, 2, the price they're willing to pay, and 3, the hungerness or the eagerness, of the students. On those 3 points.
I know other business owners that have had successful businesses for years in academies, yeah? And when we have discussions about the UK market, you know, I'll give you an example. Someone that I know very closely has been running an academy for 10 years, been successful for 10 years, had tons of students. And when I asked him the question, you know, how many of them are from the UK, he said over the 10-year period, possibly 8 to 10.
Wow.
That's crazy. You know, so...
and he's busy.
Yeah, man, he's busy. They've got great business. They've got an absolutely fantastic business, you know. I speak to other people, and I mean, how much do people invest in education for barbering in the UK? I'm not too sure what that is. Or they might not value the price that a company like ours puts on it. You know, I don't know why. Because if you're getting demand all around the world, and you're traveling and you see these people, they're so eager. I've had people that have taken our course 2-3 times in, say, America, or, you know, in Greece when we went, and so forth. And you just think, wow, man, you know, it's good for you. Obviously, you enjoyed the course, you've gained something from it. You know, obviously we are limited on dates for the UK because we do so much work abroad, but not saying that we haven't had people from the UK, but I don't, the market's a bit funny. I don't know why that is, but it is.
Do you think there's a certain, what's the word I was going to think of, not ego too, but people just... They're a bit more abrupt in that aspect, that they're not open to everyone else because they think they're the best. They don't want to, like, there's a bit of too much egoism with ourselves within the UK market. And actually, on that point, do you feel that part of that stems from say you open up the Barber Mag or Barber MB, whatever they're called, all these magazines that are in our industry. You open them up, you're bound to see maybe the same 5 names every other month. It's always kind of based around the same kind of people. I know you can't get everyone in there. There's going to be a lot of people in the industry.
There's a hell of a lot of the good people, though, man. It's not just like them 5 names as you keep on saying, for example. I'll be honest with you, yeah, there's a lot of talented barbers out there.
Loads.
A lot of talented barbers. And not just abroad, in the UK as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Barbers. Would I say it's an ego thing?
Arrogance. That's what I'm thinking of.
I don't know, man. I'm not really someone to... I don't know. I don't comment on things like that. For me, I think if there's something there that you believe you can invest in and will add value to you, then do it. Yeah? If you feel that it's not and you know already, I think that's a dangerous game that you're playing. So I'm not just saying it for us as an educational business, oh yeah, come take our course. It's nothing like that. It's more, invest your money. I know when I was in the hairdressing side of stuff, we used to do education relentlessly. And I think that's why with hairdressing, it's so far advanced compared to barbering in terms of the way they educate staff members that work in their shop. There's continual professional development happening consistently in hairdressing salons, and they have to be. And it's not just the cutting hair side of stuff. It's the way that you build rapport with clients. It's the way that, you retain people coming back to you. There's so many elements, and there has been a massive explosion of education that's gone into barbering, but in all honesty, it's so far behind still, especially if you've been to the other side of where hair gets cut in hair salons. It's so far behind.
Yeah,
it hasn't even scratched the surface, in my opinion.
You mean education barbering compared to in the hairdressing industry?
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, looking back from when I was in pure hairdressing, I can see what you mean, actually. I never really thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. Even, what else is really interesting? Even from product companies, right? Product companies in hairdressing specifically will give you education on actual doing hair as well, so you can use the product in a better way.
Yeah.
Hair. They want to give you as much information as they can. They want to get you as good as you can. In barbering, with product companies, this is how I feel, and I work for a product company as well, it's way more just about how you use the product in general. Just how you use the product, we want to get more sales. It's a good point. The education is a bit different in barbering the way it is in hairdressing. We're not there yet. You're obviously there. You love education. And I want to point something else out as well. I always say to people, invest in yourself is huge. Well, I had Slider cut the other week, and we're talking about his book. I'm like, his book is so cheap. It's like when someone has a book, and it's from our industry specifically, you can be from any industry, but specifically from our industry, why wouldn't you go and buy it? Why wouldn't you go and get a course with him? And why wouldn't you? You're talking about decades of information. Knowledge that you've trained. When I said earlier, you've obviously spent a lot of time educating yourself.
I still do.
I'm gonna pay you £1,000 tomorrow to teach me, right?
Yeah.
It's because you've spent thousands of pounds over the last 10 years. So I'm getting all those thousands of pounds you've spent in £1,000 in one day. Same when you read a book, same with all kind of knowledge. Education has to keep going. It never stops for us. I think that's so right. So if you're watching this, check out Kings of Tomorrow. I highly recommend it. Stell's obviously a very, very good teacher.
I appreciate that, man.
You know what? I've got to say, all the interviews I've done so far, this is the first interview that I haven't had pre-planned questions, and we're going off the cuff. It's very unpredicted, and I'm going to go into you as a character now. Okay. Now, you're called Stell the Talent.
Yeah.
So I remember when I saw Stell the Talent come up as your tag name, I hadn't seen you for a very long time at that point, and I was like, Stell the Talent. For what in my lager? And I said my lager, I said, what we're talking about if you're not green. So I thought, fucking hell, and this Stell is a joker. I didn't really take it seriously, but I thought it's quite funny they did that. And only until I think I reconnected with, not you personally, but just your work, watching you online, I really felt that, you know what, I understand why you have that tag, and you have to really feel that you're giving something to have a tag like that. So if you say you're the talent, you're the educator, whatever, you have to actually have it. You definitely have it. And I understand way more. You don't actually have an arrogance that I think may be portrayed. I actually don't think that.
From the name, of course. Yeah, but here's the other thing, I had this conversation about the name. And they're like, wow, you work for Ego Barbers, yeah? This is what me and Harry get all the time. Your tag name's Stell the Talent. And I was like, yeah, man, honestly, when I done it, it was a bit of fun. I didn't, as you do. And it gets to a stage where I used to MC back in the day, and my name, my MC name was Talent. So I was like, yeah, man, I create an account, I'll just call it Stell the Talent. That's literally where it came from. And then I just left it because I'm not the biggest on Instagram. I'll be honest with you. I'm very inconsistent with it. I don't worry about likes and the followers and all of that. For me, it has to be a personal interaction. When anyone hits me up and they want to know something, I'm very eager to help them through DMs and all of that. I'll repost other people's work on my stuff. For me, Harry's the one with the big account. Do you know what I mean? So I'm lucky in that sense that I don't need to have that stress, because I don't need that stress in my life, bros. I don't need the numbers and this. Give me a room, give me a stage, let me do what I do best, let me write some syllabuses, let me look at things to help students, because ultimately, that's not for me. It's not something that I'll bother. So when people bring up the name, I'm like, yeah, and then it's funny because I might teach that person that might have a preconception of me, or Harry as well, because of the name Ego Barbers. And then the first thing they always say is do you know what? You guys, you're just real. You don't have no egos. And I'm like, why? And, at the start, I was like, why are they saying? I used to say to Harry, why are they saying that? And they're like, well, Krubs, your name is Stell the Talent, and our barbershop's called Ego Barbers. And I'm like, oh my days, yes. I didn't. It is what it is, man. What am I going to do? Change it now? So
it's too late, man. A couple of ironies. I mean, one, you have a huge following on Instagram. I know, obviously, compared to Harry's, not huge. Over 20,000 followers. It's nothing to sniff at. It's huge. And the work content that you put out is actually I think quite a lot. And the quality is very, very good. I'm one of those people where not only I'm so critical when I'm looking at a haircut, not in a bad way. It's with my own work more than anything else. I'm always looking for faults in it. When I post something,
of course.
I'm really funny with stuff. In fact, I don't post very much. I'm so overly critical. It's almost a bad thing. I've got a backlog of stuff. I probably uploaded, I don't know, 50 haircuts overall in the last 5 years, and I've got 500 haircuts in my archive. I just don't like it. I hate posting. And so I watch your stuff. And I think the quality you're putting out is excellent. Some of the really, really good quality, not just fades, design work, going back to architecture, right? It's always design work with hair. It's different stuff that you're not seeing all the time. And it looks like it's haircuts that you're doing in the shop all the time. It's not just very selective. It's like you have a lot of time to do that kind of stuff on. Very good, man. I mean, I'm quite impressed. It's really good work. Check out his Instagram page if you haven't already.
Thank you, man.
No, of course, man. Do you think Instagram has been a good thing overall for barbers, because you think you're not really into it? And how do you think people can build a bigger following on their Instagram?
Listen, Instagram's been amazing for our industry. Yeah, let's not kid ourselves now. If it weren't for Harry doing what he did on Instagram and having that platform to showcase his work, then we may not necessarily have had a business in terms of the education side of stuff, and many other people that have showcased their work. So to that degree, yes, it's been great. I think the panic of worrying about building up a following, it can be quite stressful for people. It's like a full-time job, man. You've got to get content, you've got to post it, you've got to comment. I think you've got to show love to other people though as well. When you see something and you like it, there's nothing wrong with saying I like it, man.
Yeah, man. I agree.
And I think in terms of building up a following, again, because I'm not that way inclined, really overthink that. So, I've been on like 22,000 for God knows how long. I don't even think I'll move off it unless I really want to, and that's invested time. But, I don't see it as the be-all and end-all. But the reason I don't see it as a be-all and end-all is because I've got a partner that I do business with that's got a massive account. So he's known worldwide. Do you know what I mean? I'm just the guy that turns up and then they know me after, which is funny because Harry goes, they'll know everyone knows who you are. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, trust me, if they didn't, now they do whenever you go and take courses. And it's funny because, I'm in that very what can I say? That very lucky hole where I don't need to stress myself because the people that need to know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I don't have that stress. For up and coming barbers, I can understand the feel of anxiety to try and, build a page up and so forth. But ultimately, what it comes down to for me, build up the clientele, make the money. Yeah, don't chase a dream that doesn't necessarily exist. I always say this saying that people think there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Yeah, everyone's going to become international educators and they're going to do great things and so forth and make loads of money. It doesn't necessarily go like that. I see people that are like, they think that, I've got to become this person. I've got to become an educator, or I want to become an educator. And mate, there is nothing wrong with sharing information as long as your moral compass is right with what you're doing and you've really explored all avenues and understood your belief system. I know people that have studied and got, their diploma, for example, and never taken any more courses on self-development, on understanding more about hair, the industry that they're in, and they want to become educators. Now, does that sit well with me when I've been doing it for 19 years? No. Do I understand why? Yes, because they're eager. It looks like the in thing to do. But, everything takes time. And I'm a believer in that. So, Instagram does help you with that, but it takes time. And then when your opportunity does come, you've got to be ready to deliver something powerful, You ain't going to last long.
I'll back up what you said about, it depends on the place where it comes from. I think you have a right to say that. And I'll tell you a really interesting story very quickly, actually. We spoke about this before, actually. And when there'd been a time period where I hadn't seen himself for a very long time, I bumped into him and we started catching up. So I'm asking him, I really want to know what you're up to at the time because I saw Kings of Tomorrow launch. Things were going crazy. I heard that you left underscore barbering, blah, blah, with mutual friends. So I wanted to know what was going on. So we had that conversation. Now, I met, this is going to go back and forth a bit, so watch on. I met another guy, a barber, through a friend. And this guy, as soon as I meet people anyway, and they're in the industry, I love asking them, what do you do? Who are you? I'm interested. Probably which is why I like doing this kind of stuff. So I asked him, what do you do, blah, blah, you got a shop call, what's it like, how's business? I always like to see people doing well. So, is it doing well? What's going on? Do we share similar problems with, other employees or something? And then spoke ages, answered all my questions, and then out of nowhere he goes, so I just signed my contract with my Wall contract. I was like, awesome. I don't know what that means, but okay, that's brilliant. Quite happy for you. That's great. Sounds like a great thing. Wall's a great company. And that was it. The conversation ended. Didn't ask me one question about what I was doing. The irony was, at that time, I was, on behalf of a huge company I was working for at the time, I was hiring barbers who were very good at what they were doing to come in and do one-day demos or workshops for very good money, and we're constantly looking for new talent. He could have been one of them. He didn't bother asking me once what we did and whatever. A similar time frame, I caught up with you, you start asking me, what are you up to? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Because you're genuinely interested and you're coming from a good place. Do you know what I mean? I haven't heard of that barber again, by the way. I haven't seen his work. I don't know where he is. I keep seeing yours everywhere.
Listen, for me, I'm quite comfortable with my journey. So I like to know what other people are doing. I love getting updates from my students, people that I've interacted with. Mate, I've made so many friends through educating, and I always look at their journey, and you know, they'll ask me advice and so forth. Sometimes I'll even ask them advice, because you'll get students that are really, really technically good, man. They might be good with, you know, other aspects of painting hair, like photography and so forth. And you've got to ask the question, man. You want to know what they're doing, and I think it's important, because for me, I don't need to tell you what I'm doing, because I'm happy with what I'm doing. So I'm not looking for you to make me feel any better about my journey, because I'm comfortable with it. But what's more interesting is to see what other people are doing, and see, you know, are they happy with their journey? You know, maybe I could give them some advice if they want it. Or, you know, because I've made loads of mistakes in my life, in my career as well. And I believe that you learn from these mistakes all the time. So there's always something to pass on to someone. But yeah, man, of course I'm interested in what you're doing. Why would I not?
It's, well, some people it's just all about them, right? It's ego driven. Like, you're short. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, man. I'm joking. I want to wrap up in a bit now, and I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
And I want to say, because I'm a big believer in there's keys that you can use cross industry that work for everyone. So don't reinvent the wheel. It's already done. But there's certain things that we can learn from everyone that's been successful. You've been successful in a certain way yourself with what you're doing with education and many more things. I want to ask you if you could give me a couple of points, at least a couple, of what you think are key points to be successful in your field. Since in my opinion, you've been very successful in your field and what you're trying to achieve. A few key things that you'd like to share with us.
I think that you've got to like work on yourself. It's important to, I read books, self-help books, and I think it's important to listen to people that have done stuff and engage with them people, because where you want to get to, if someone's already there, because everyone admires someone, that's the way that I see it, and I've always got people that I admire and look up to, and I want to emulate stuff that they've done. So for me, if they've already done it, then I'm going to ask them the questions. I'm going to spend time with them. And then on a personal note, I'm going to invest in me and see what I need to work on. Because you can't give to people if you are not comfortable with yourself. And, you know, use these people. If someone's better at you at something, then don't try to be in competition with them. Accept it, and then, you know, learn from that person, because ultimately you can gain a lot, and in such a quick period of time. Why should I sit back, struggle, to try and work out what makes them better than me in certain things, when I can just ask them the question? It's going back to that whole, you know, you don't want to look like you don't know enough. Just accept it. There's always going to be people that are better than you at something, and if you want to get good at that, ask these people. It's the quickest way of doing it. That's the best bit of advice.
And then you've got the knowledge that you thought you never had, that you're embarrassed about, and you're now on par with those people.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Listen, everyone's in a position where they don't know something, or they're lacking something in their skill set. There is nothing wrong. But even in life, if you want to buy a nice house, ask the question, how did you manage to acquire that? Because I want a house like that. Or, you know, how did you acquire that house? Or how did you acquire your business? I ask people these questions all the time. Don't forget, we're quite lucky. We get a lot of people that sit in our chairs, and people that range from being extremely successful to having, you know, other stuff that you need in your life. If you don't ask these people that sit in your chair every 2 to 3 weeks, you're an idiot.
I'm with you that. Totally.
You're an idiot. I hate it when barbers say, what should I talk to the client about? What do you like about this person? Because they can offer you gems all the time. Mate, the amount of people that I've learned from my customers from being an ego, because obviously the area is quite affluent. Bro, people just, some of the clients, some of the stuff that I've learned in the 3 years that I've been there, I'm like, oh my good God, man, like, why did I not know these things before? Because I didn't have these people around me. It just so happens that these people have kind of gravitated to me because I've worked there, and all of a sudden I'm learning so much more than I ever did, say, within my 20s, because I was quite, I don't know, maybe the environment didn't suit me. So when you're in that environment, you want to grow, and you seek out these people. You have to draw these people into your life and ask them questions.
That is huge. I think I'm with you, that man. What you can get if you're a barber now, especially if you're a young barber starting out, this is even bigger for you because you would have known this yet. What you can learn generally and get tips from in your life going forward, financially, whatever it is, relationship, you can get so much of it from your clients. And yeah, man, I would actually say I'm not going to say if it wasn't for my clients, I wouldn't have my shop, but I think because of my clients, it helped me to get my shop because of the stuff that I got from them. It was massive. Proximity is power as well. You work in a certain area, you're going to be closer to certain people, you're going to get that kind of knowledge. I work closer on another side of London, I get certain knowledge in that aspect. So if you want to, you want to grow in it, be near it, be around it.
Bro, even if you don't have the type of people that you want, go and find these types of people that are living the life that you want to live. It's very simple, man. It's like, why stay in the dark about it? Look, we have, okay, I'll give you an example, yeah? We have someone like Yanni Myers that comes, yeah? He is a successful businessman, yeah? I would count him as a friend, yeah? So we'll sit down, I'll cut his hair. He's very easy, he'll go to everyone, yeah? Bro, when he's in my chair, believe me, I'm asking him as many questions, and he's more than happy to ask because everyone likes to tell their story to people, yeah? Especially if they've had success, because along with the success, they're going to tell you all the shit that went wrong for that success to finally happen. So if I know everything that's gone wrong, it makes me to get on that path to be successful so much more easier because I'm not going to make the same mistakes as that person. They've already lived it. So why would I not utilise these people? Do you understand? For me, it's easy. Life is easy. Just ask the questions. Don't be scared of asking the questions and finding out. It's not an ego thing here, man. Like, you want to acquire something, then find the person that's already got it and ask them the question. Simple as.
It goes back to what you said about when we're talking about education, and you're attaining so many years of someone else's education by paying them for that one day. Read books, invest in education. It's all the same. Yeah, it's massive. I'm really going over time, but I want to brush on one more thing because I think it's quite funny actually. Something a bit personal. On your Instagram stories, I think something that I quite respect actually is that you're obviously very proud of where you're from and where you come from. And by that I mean what
in Greek.
Huh?
In Greek, yeah?
North London, Greek Cypriot specifically.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, and of a certain generation, and what I mean by that is people might not understand this if they watch your stories. So when you watch a story from Stell the Talent, you hear certain vernacular and dialect that is of not just a North London Cypriot, but a certain area of North London's Greek Cypriot from a certain generation.
Yeah.
And by that you may see stuff like, instead of, a lot of people say bruv, but you say bruv.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And it's very original though, but like, I'm going to tag this again. I keep saying this in my videos.
Yeah.
So how you do one thing is how you do everything. And you have a continuation of the way you are, which is why I think also makes you quite successful in what you do. From your education to where you are, you're always constantly original and real. So you're not trying to change that. You're not trying to hide that. Obviously, I understand your videos, so I find them hilarious. So but it's quite cool that you stick to that. You use certain phrases, obviously, that no one really understand. But it's quite funny. It's quite cool.
Bro, it's the characters in the shop. Honestly, the shop is... unless you come in ego and understand, because, bro, you got Harry. He's like... I've got a friend that's on the live. His name's Andrea, yeah? I taught him at London School of Barbering. When Andrea first met Harry, yeah, he said to me, bro, he looks like a proper Gibreon, yeah? Like a Bakidis, like from Paphos. How does this man cut hair? And we had this conversation, and bro, the chemistry in the shop, because bro, we're just easy, bros. I go to work to have fun, dude.
Yeah,
I get to cut hair, enjoy people's company all day. For me, that's not work. We just have banter all day, and we have a good chemistry. And of course, I'm proud to be Greek, man. Like, don't forget, I lived there for 7 years of my life. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's brilliant. Well, look, you know what? We should have part two because I want to kind of talk about that side of stuff. But we didn't really get on to be honest, I know how of a hard worker you are as well, and that's something I really wanted to brush on today. Kind of ran out a bit of time, but maybe we'll come back and do another video. But definitely, if you haven't already, check out Kings of Tomorrow. Ego Barbershop is where you cut hair from. Pretty much full time unless you're traveling, right?
Yeah.
That's in Port Crosters. How can people find out about Kings of Tomorrow? Where can they find it? Type it in?
So, yeah, they can do it on our website. At the minute, it's down for maintenance reasons. So we've got a guy working on it. We just want to update stuff. So at the minute, you can't really find it. But hopefully, once all of these dramas gone, we should have the website up and running and so forth. I think there's a segment of it in terms of like the education that you can go and check out. So if you type in www.egobarbers.co.uk, I think you can go on it. It's not the full thing though. Like I said, a new website's in the process of being sorted out and done better. Yeah, that's about it really.
What we do when I post there's going to be a teaser in a few days, a teaser from this interview on my Instagram page on House of Thrix, and we'll put some information there. I know they don't allow you to tag websites, but we'll put on Kings of Tomorrow there. People can find it. Check out his stories if you want to learn a bit of colloquialism of North London secret break. Thank you so much for being on here. And also, one last thing, Stell. You know who? It's funny you mentioned him, and I've been watching him all week. I want to get him on the show, Genomize. I want to get him on for a talk. If you ever see him, tell us this random dude looking for you that wants to get you an interview.
All right.
You'll find him.
No problem.
All right.
Let us get back to the shop. Let us cut some hair, and when he comes in, I'll let him know.
Awesome. So, honestly, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
The pleasure's been mine. Thank you very much, bro.
On behalf of everyone, cheers. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Those of you who are watching online, please click subscribe underneath. Share, comment, like House of Thrix on Instagram and on YouTube. Stay blessed, everyone, and stay safe, okay?